Here we go, 5th grade. SWBUT.
SWBUT.
Students will
Be able to.
Measure and classify angles.
Measure and classify angles.
All right, let's get this going here. And there's some of our words. Oh, one of the words we didn't talk about yet. Of course, we talked about angle, vertex, degrees. I'm glad that Liz brought that word up. And, of course, you all have your protractor, which should be sitting on your desk out of your little hands at this point.
How can you measure an angle? Think about this question during the lesson. An angle is formed by two rays that have the same endpoint. The common endpoint of the two rays is called the vertex, plural, vertices. The rays are the sides of the angle. The two rays that form the angle are ray BA and ray BC. How do you name an angle?
Anybody know that answer to that question before I show it? Chromebook should be down. Really, all you need is your book and looking at the screen right now. How do you name an angle? Ethan, how do you name an angle?
You can name a acute angle if it is less than 90 degrees, and then a right angle is 90 degrees.
But if I said name that angle, what would you write on your paper?
Acute.
That's classifying it, okay? That's a little bit different. It is an acute angle, you're right. But how would you name that acute angle? You would call it, you'd have to call it something. Not sure? That's okay, we're going to get that. Nathan, what would you do?
You write an acute angle of, you write ABC and then an acute angle above it.
Okay.
You use an angle symbol followed by the names of the 3 points that make the angle. The vertex point must be the middle letter.
I wish this was in bold print and highlighted. This is something you need to remember today. The vertex point, that's that point where they come together, the end point, must be the middle letter. So is there another way you could name this angle besides angle ABC?
CBA.
What else could you call it, Destiny?
Angle CBA.
Angle CBA? What's another way you could name this angle? ABC? CBA? Or is there another way?
There is no
Grace,
other
there is no other way.
You can puzzle me.
Can't trick you.
How would you name this angle? You can name this angle 3 ways. Angle ABC, angle CBA, or angle B.
There was a third way. I forgot about that one. Just angle B because you're naming it by its vertex. But typically I'm going to ask you to put the 3 letters in and have the vertex letter in the middle. Correct?
When you measure an angle, what part of the angle are you measuring?
Repeat.
Aaliyah, put that down for now, please. When you measure an angle, what part of the angle are you measuring? What are we really measuring here today? What do you think, Claire? The vertex, she says. What do you think, Kyle?
Like the distance between A and C.
Okay. What do you think, Alex?
The degrees.
The degrees. I've got 3 answers. Let's see who was closest.
You are measuring the space between the 2 rays when you measure an angle.
Who got closest to what we're doing here?
Kyle.
Kyle did. That's right. He said the distance between A and C. And he was correct.
You can use a protractor to measure and draw angles. Angles are measured in degrees. It takes 90 degrees to fill a square corner. How do you use a protractor to measure the degrees of an angle?
Okay, he's going to step you through where to place your protractor and how to read the protractor. Because if you will notice on yours and on this one, more than likely there's 2 sets of numbers. A top set and a bottom set. So pay close attention to what numbers you are to look at when you measure. Do you have a question, Grace?
It's called a protractor.
That's called a compass.
That's what you isn't that what you
I guess I have a protractor somewhere that came. This is
You probably did. So you don't need that. You should have something that looks like this.
I don't
That's okay. You don't need that.
Mine is.
All right, fifth grade. Let's keep going.
To measure an angle, place the protractor's center on the angle's vertex. Place the 0 degrees mark on one side of the angle. Read the measure where the other side of the angle crosses the protractor.
Okay. You get all that?
Yeah.
Let's do a replay. I want you to hear this again. Just kind of look at it and follow along where I'm pointing to as he's talking.
To measure an angle, place the protractor's center on the angle's vertex. Place the 0 degrees mark on one side of the angle. Read the measure where the other side of the angle crosses the protractor.
Now he hasn't said what set of numbers to look at yet. Okay, watch this.
Which set of numbers on the protractor should you use to measure this angle?
How many of you think it's the bottom set? How many of you think it's the top set? How many of you have no idea? You're just guessing. Thanks for being honest. Okay, I want to point something out to you. Because you use this side, this 0 side, your 0 is here. Would you go 0, 10, 20 or 0, 170, 160? 0, 10, 20. So in this case, we're going to need to use the bottom set of numbers. Think about it, makes sense, right? Because we're dealing with an acute angle here, it's going to be an angle that's less than 90, so it has to be the lower set of numbers, right? Now, if this went all the way over here, we would still use the bottom set of numbers, but we know it needs to be bigger because it would be an obtuse angle, which is greater than 90 degrees.
Use the inside set of numbers. These numbers start with 0, where the protractor is lined up with the ray.
You have a question, Grace?
Mine has numbers on the bottom too.
Okay, and those numbers I believe are that's just inches, an inches ruler built in, okay?
In what way is measuring with a protractor similar to measuring with a ruler?
What do you think, Kyle?
It has like the numbers and the notches in between.
And you still have to start at a 0, going to line up with a 0, which is going to be one of the rays in your angle. You got to line up with one of your bottom 0 has to line up with one of the rays, and then you look at your other ray to find your degrees.
You must always line up the vertex with 0 on the protractor, just like you start a measure of length from 0 on the ruler. The measure of angle PQR is 56 degrees.
Okay, do you see where they got 56? Slightly past center between 50 and 60. So here you just kind of have to guess, that's about 56.
How would you use a protractor to draw an angle of 140 degrees?
So not only are we going to use protractors to measure angles that are already there, you're going to have to know how to draw one. If I say draw me an angle of 160 degrees, you can use a protractor to do that. What would you do first? What do you think, Haley? Put the protractors down. Okay. Well, you wouldn't put it, some people don't have that thing, okay? So if you didn't have that little thing in the middle, let's just let them step us through this because we're running short on time here.
Draw a ray, TU. Be sure to label the endpoint T.
So that's what you would do first. Now, these are random letters. It's not like you have to use the letters TU all the time. We could have used AV or CV or something like that. Normally they're letters that follow each other in a sequence though, just so you know. So the first thing you do, just draw your bottom ray, and you can use your protractor to do that. Just so you can see, you would just do this and you would start here in the middle and draw a ray out that way. Just draw a nice straight line going that way. That'll be your first step.
Place the protractor center on T. Line up ray TU with the 0-degree mark. Place a dot at 140 degrees. Label it W. Then draw ray TW.
So do your dot. Then you'd actually have to move your protractor. You'd have to slant it and draw your nice straight line going that way from your first dot to the dot you just drew. That's how you use your protractor to draw angles. So you can use it to measure them and to draw them as well. We said draw an angle with 140 degrees, so that's why you drew a dot above the 140 mark.
How do you know which letter was the vertex of the ray TU?
Okay. That's a good review question. How do we know which letter was the vertex? Corinne?
Because they're both endpoints, like U and W are connected to T.
Well, if it's ray TU, we know the first letter is always going to be your endpoint letter. You always start with your endpoint letter. So T was the vertex. If I said ray ST, what would the vertex be? S or T? Everybody? S. It's the first letter that you say that's going to be your vertex letter, your endpoint letter.
The vertex point was the point named first. Which set of numbers on the protractor should you use to measure this angle?
Which set are we going to use here, Austin?
We're gonna use
Inside or the outside?
outside.
We're going to use the inside. Starting in our 0, that would be the inside numbers. 0, 10, 20, so we went all the way over to 140. If we had measured this as our 140, why would that be wrong? Then our line would be going up this way, right?
Yes.
That's why we made it
Because we wouldn't have started at 0. That truly wouldn't be 140. That would be 10, 20, 30. That would only be 40. That'd be an acute angle too. Okay, let's keep going.
Use the inside set of numbers to measure this angle. These numbers start with 0, where it is lined up with the ray TU. The measure of angle WTU is 140 degrees.
Okay, so